Alex Mercer stood before the vast panoramic window, the infinite starfield outside a stark contrast to the claustrophobic corridors behind him. The cold vacuum of space stretched endlessly, indifferent to the turmoil contained within this fragile orbital outpost. He inhaled slowly, trying to steady the storm of thoughts swirling in his mind. The sabotage crisis had passed, but the scars it left were raw and deep. His reflection merged with the stars, a solitary figure caught between duty and doubt. The question that haunted him was no longer just about who had betrayed whom or how to prevent the next attack. It was about his own place in this fractured world. Was he still the protector of Helix One, or had the relentless pressure and betrayal worn down his resolve beyond repair? The faint hiss of the air recycler brought him back to the present. A soft chime indicated an incoming message. He turned to see the station's comms panel blinking insistently. It was a summons to the conference room meeting called by Dr. Lena Ortiz and Marcus Vale. The alliance between them was tenuous at best, but necessary. The conference room was stark, illuminated by harsh white lights that reflected off the metal surfaces and the faces of those inside. Lena's eyes were sharp behind her glasses, her posture calm but alert. Marcus stood opposite, his expression unreadable, every muscle taut with barely concealed calculation. Alex took a seat, the chair's firmness grounding him. "We need to talk about what's next," Lena began, her voice steady. "The sabotage has changed everything. The station is vulnerable, and the summit's fallout will ripple far beyond these walls." Marcus nodded slowly. "Our factions are fractured, and trust is a scarce commodity. But if Helix One falls again, it won't just be corporate interests at risk, it'll be every life on board." Alex studied them both. The tension in the room was palpable, each word weighted with unspoken fears and the fragile hope for survival. "We have to rebuild, not just the station's systems, but the alliances that hold us together. I won't pretend it'll be easy." Lena glanced at Marcus, who met her gaze without flinching. "Trust has to start somewhere," she said softly. The meeting ended with no grand resolutions, only the understanding that the path forward was uncertain and fraught with peril. Alex left with a heavier burden but a clearer purpose. Later, in the dimly lit security quarters, Jenna Wu found him reviewing the station's schematics. Her presence was quiet but firm as she approached. "Alex," she said, her voice carrying the weight of shared hardship. "We all looked to you when things fell apart. You kept us together. We need that now more than ever." He looked up, meeting her determined gaze. "I'm not sure I'm the man I was before." Jenna smiled faintly. "Maybe not. But maybe you're exactly the man we need now." Her words struck a chord deep within him. The safety of Helix One depended not only on technology and protocols, but on the resilience and trust of its defenders. As the hours passed, Alex's thoughts coalesced into a resolution. The station's corridors no longer felt like a cage, but a battlefield where every choice mattered. He would face the ghosts of his past, the betrayals of the present, and the uncertain future with one unyielding purpose: to protect those who could not protect themselves. Standing once more at the observation deck, he spoke into his communicator, his voice steady and resolute. "This is Alex Mercer. We've survived the worst, but the fight isn't over. We rebuild, we strengthen, and we stand together. Helix One is more than a station, it's our home, and I won't let it fall." The stars outside shimmered coldly, but inside, a spark of determination burned bright. The crossroads had been reached, and Alex had chosen his path. The shadows of doubt still lingered, but they no longer held him captive. The future awaited, uncertain and dangerous, but for the first time in a long while, Alex felt ready to meet it head-on. And in the silence of space, that made all the difference. Now, the atmosphere was charged with a different energy, one of cautious hope and tentative rebuilding. Alex Mercer stood at the head of the room, his hands folded on the sleek, oval table before him. Around him, key players, delegates, security personnel, and technical experts sat upright, their faces a mixture of wariness and attention. "We've all seen the cost of silence and suspicion," Alex began, his voice steady but carrying the weight of recent trials. "Helix 1 is not just a station. It is a fragile ecosystem of trust and cooperation. If we are to move forward, that trust must be rebuilt, and security must become a shared responsibility." A murmur rippled through the room. Dr. Lena Ortiz nodded slightly, her glasses catching the light as she leaned forward. "The systems are stabilizing, but vulnerabilities remain. Cooperation between departments is crucial to patching these gaps quickly." Marcus Vale, seated near the back, shifted in his chair, his calculating gaze flickering between Alex and the others. The memory of his ambiguous loyalties hung heavy, but today he was here, present, listening. Alex continued, "To that end, I propose new protocols, transparent communication channels, regular joint security drills, and immediate reporting of any anomalies, no matter how minor. We cannot afford secrets any longer." The room was silent for a beat. Then nods began to spread, some hesitant, some resolute. This was the turning point, the fragile first step toward healing the fractures that had threatened to tear the station apart. Later, deep within the engineering bay, the air was thick with the scent of warm metal and lubricants. Raj Patel and Dr. Lena Ortiz worked side by side, their hands moving deftly across control panels and wiring harnesses. The station's heartbeat, its systems depended on their expertise. "The redundancy upgrades we're implementing will buy us critical time should another sabotage occur," Raj said, wiping sweat from his brow despite the controlled temperature. Lena nodded, eyes sharp behind her glasses. "And the diagnostic algorithms have been refining will help us detect anomalies faster. Together, we can build a network of resilience." Their collaboration was a quiet testament to the spirit of the station, a determination to survive and protect born from adversity. In a narrow zero-gravity corridor, the atmosphere was tense but charged with unspoken possibility. Alex floated beside Marcus Vale, the faint glow of indicator panels casting shifting shadows across their faces. "I know I've given you reasons not to trust me," Marcus said quietly, "but if we're to succeed, I need you to believe I'm committed to this." Alex's sharp eyes met Marcus's. "Trust isn't given lightly here. You'll have to earn it." Understood. The weight of their exchange lingered, a fragile bridge over past betrayals. Elsewhere, Jenna Wu moved with purposeful steps along the station's perimeter corridors. The soft thud of her boots echoed faintly as she scanned for any sign of threat. Her face was set in a mask of focused vigilance, embodying the renewed commitment that now coursed through the crew. "We're not just guarding a station," Jenna thought. "We're guarding every life that depends on it." As days passed, the new protocols took root. Communication lines once choked with suspicion now flowed with cautious openness. Joint drills became routine, and the barriers between factions began to crumble, replaced by a shared determination. Alex found himself in the eye of this transformation, his leadership evolving from a solitary enforcer to a unifying force. Yet, the scars of past betrayals were never far beneath the surface, reminding him that vigilance was as much about human nature as it was about technology. One evening, as the station orbited silently against the backdrop of infinite stars, Alex stood by a viewport, gazing out into the void. The station hummed around him, a small bastion of life and fragile trust. "We've come a long way," he murmured to himself, "but the fight isn't over. Not by a long shot." Alex Mercer stood at the epicenter of this transformation, his sharp eyes tracing the streams of data cascading across the translucent screens before him. The scars of recent sabotage still lingered in the station's metal bones, but today marked a turning point, a deliberate, calculated effort to reclaim Helix One's sanctity and secure its future. Beside him, Chief Engineer Raj Patel orchestrated the delicate ballet of technical upgrades with methodical precision. The maintenance bay, usually a chaotic array of tools and floating components, had transformed into a hive of synchronized activity. Raj's team moved fluidly in zero gravity, their practiced hands fitting new sensors and reinforced circuitry into the station's core systems. Tools danced weightlessly, tethered only by the engineer's expert grasp and the unspoken rhythm of coordinated effort. Make sure the new intrusion detection protocols integrate seamlessly with the existing architecture, Alex instructed, his voice steady but edged with urgency. "We can't afford any blind spots, not after what happened." Raj nodded, his normally calm face creasing with a rare flicker of tension. "Understood. We're also upgrading the environmental controls. The life support systems will have redundant failsafes, and the power grid will incorporate real-time anomaly detection." From the adjacent lab, Dr. Lena Ortiz approached, her curly black hair pulled back to reveal a face set with determination. She adjusted her glasses as she joined the conversation, adding, "The scientific safeguards will complement the security upgrades. We've developed algorithms that can predict potential sabotage points based on past incidents and current vulnerabilities. Integrating these will give us a proactive edge." Alex allowed a brief nod of approval. Lena's expertise had been invaluable throughout the crisis, and her presence reassured him that the station's defenses would be as much about intellect as hardware. The atmosphere aboard Helix One was a fragile tapestry of hope and residual fear. The summit's delegates, once fractured by suspicion and paranoia, now moved with cautious cooperation. Jenna Wu, Alex's loyal subordinate, patrolled the corridors with renewed purpose. Her keen eyes scanned every shadow, every flicker of movement, embodying the station's collective resolve to stand vigilant. "Security protocols are tighter," Jenna reported during a brief encounter. "Crew morale is stabilizing, but some are still on edge." Alex's gaze hardened. "We rebuild more than systems. Trust has to be restored, piece by piece." As the days unfolded, the upgrades progressed. New biometric scanners replaced outdated access points. Enhanced communication, encryption-shielded, sensitive transmissions. And emergency response teams drilled relentlessly in simulated sabotage scenarios. The zero-gravity environment, once a disorienting obstacle, became an asset security measures adapted to exploit the unique challenges of orbital operations. Yet beneath the surface, Alex sensed the subtle undercurrents of unresolved tension. Paranoia had a stubborn hold, and the shadows of betrayal still whispered in the station's quieter corners. The question lingered, were these preparations sufficient to shield Helix One from what might come next? One evening, as the station orbited silently against the backdrop of infinite stars, Alex stood alone by a viewport, the cold expanse of space a stark contrast to the heated urgency inside. His hand rested against the glass, fingers tracing the outline of distant constellations. The weight of responsibility pressed heavily on him, not just for the station, but for the fragile alliances and fractured trust that now defined his mission. A soft chime interrupted his reverie. The command console lit up with a status update. The upgrades were nearly complete, the station humming with renewed vitality. Yet the message beneath the surface was clear: vigilance must never waver. With a deep breath, Alex turned away from the window, his resolve hardening. Helix 1 was no longer just a station. It was a battleground of wills, a crucible forged by betrayal and survival. The final preparations were more than technical. They were a testament to human resilience and the relentless fight to protect what remained. As the chapter closed, the station's corridors buzzed with quiet anticipation. Every sensor, every safeguard, every watchful eye was a thread in a vast, delicate web that Alex Mercer was determined to hold together, no matter the cost. But the question echoed silently in the depths of his mind, in the endless void of space: can true security ever be achieved? Or is the greatest threat one that no system can detect? The answer, Alex knew, would come not just from technology, but from the choices they all had yet to make. And as the shadows lengthened in zero gravity, the final preparations were complete, yet the true test was only beginning. The earth hung, suspended like a fragile blue jewel, glowing softly against the endless black. The station around him hummed quietly, a constant reminder of the delicate balance that kept Helix 1 alive. He felt the familiar weight of isolation settle over him, but beneath it, a new feeling began to stir: cautious optimism. The shadows of past betrayals still clung to him, memories sharp and unrelenting. Yet, here, in this moment, with the stars as silent witnesses, Alex recognized the transformation within himself. No longer was he just the solitary enforcer, haunted and distrustful. He had become a leader, one who could lean on others, inspire fractured alliances, and guide them through uncertainty. Inside the cramped briefing room, the soft glow of monitors illuminated the faces gathered around the table. Dr. Lena Ortiz paced slowly, her voice calm and steady as she reviewed the latest system diagnostics. The repairs held firm. The station's life support and communications had stabilized. Alex watched her carefully, noting the quiet confidence in her demeanor despite the exhaustion etched into her eyes. "We're not out of the woods yet," Lena said, tapping the screen to highlight a series of sensor readings. "But the worst is behind us. If we maintain vigilance and keep protocols tight, Helix 1 will hold." Alex nodded, the weight of responsibility pressing on his shoulders. He knew the road ahead would not be easy. The scars of sabotage, deception, and loss ran deep. But the crew's resilience, their willingness to stand together, gave him hope. Later, as the station's artificial gravity hummed softly, Alex floated through the narrow corridors alongside Jenna Wu. The zero-gravity environment lent a surreal quality to their movements, bodies twisting and turning with practiced ease. The lighting cast long shadows along the walls, flickering as the station's systems cycled through their routines. "Feels different now," Jenna said quietly, breaking the silence. "Like we're finally moving past the worst." Alex gave a small, rare smile. "It's not over, but maybe we're ready to face what comes next together." Their exchange was a small but significant step, a crack in the armor of suspicion that had once isolated them all. Trust, fragile and tentative, began to take root. In the station's engineering bay, Chief Engineer Raj Patel worked methodically, tightening the last bolts on a newly installed security panel. The air was thick with the scent of lubricants and metal, punctuated by the soft click of tools. He glanced up as Alex entered, their eyes meeting in a moment of silent understanding. "Everything's holding steady," Raj reported. "These new protocols should keep us a step ahead." Alex nodded, the relief in his expression tempered by the knowledge that vigilance must never waver. "Good work, Raj. Couldn't have done it without you." The simple nod they shared spoke volumes, trust earned through shared trials, forged in the crucible of crisis. As the day gave way to the artificial night cycle aboard Helix 1, Alex found himself once again at the viewport. The stars twinkled coldly, indifferent to human struggle. But within the station, a new light flickered, one of hope, resilience, and hard-won unity. He allowed himself a moment to breathe, to acknowledge the journey that had brought him here. The scars would remain, reminders of the shadows he had faced, but they no longer defined him. The future was uncertain, yes, but for the first time in a long while, Alex felt ready to lead, ready to trust, ready to endure. And as Helix 1 sailed silently through the void, the faintest whisper of optimism stirred in the stillness. The stars shimmered like distant fires, cold and indifferent, yet somehow comforting in their constancy. Behind him, the low hum of the station's life support systems and the muted chatter of departing delegates filled the air. A subtle reminder of the fragile human endeavor that persisted in this orbit. The corporate summit was drawing to a close, leaving in its wake a tangled web of power shifts, fractured alliances, and scars both visible and hidden. Alex's sharp eyes scanned the starfield, but his thoughts were far from the serene vista. The past weeks had been a relentless test of endurance, trust, and wit. The sabotage attempts, the betrayals, the narrow escapes, all had carved deep lines into his resolve. Yet, standing here, he felt the faint stirrings of hope, fragile but undeniable. A soft chime pulled him from his reverie. Turning, he saw Dr. Lena Ortiz approaching, her usual composed expression softened by a tentative smile. "Data's coming in stable," she reported, her voice calm but tinged with relief. "The station's systems are holding steady after the upgrades. It's a good sign." Alex nodded, appreciating the steady presence she represented. "Thanks, Lena. Your work's been critical. We couldn't have made it without your expertise." She shrugged modestly. "It's a team effort. We all have our parts to play." As they spoke, Marcus Vale appeared at the corridor's entrance, his tall frame casting a long shadow. His normally sharp gaze held an unusual softness, a hint of vulnerability beneath the polished exterior. "Mercer," Marcus greeted, inclining his head in a gesture of respect. "I thought I might find you here." Alex met his eyes steadily. "Marcus, the summit's almost over. What's next for you?" Marcus's lips curved into a brief smile. "That depends. The corporate tides are shifting, and so must we all. There may be opportunities in the chaos." Their conversation was laced with unspoken history, betrayals narrowly averted, alliances reluctantly forged. Yet amidst the tension, there was a mutual acknowledgement that survival demanded cooperation. "We'll see," Alex replied cautiously. "Trust is a fragile thing aboard this station." Marcus nodded, the fleeting vulnerability vanishing behind his calculating gaze. "True. But perhaps, in time, it can be rebuilt." As Marcus departed, Alex turned back to Lena. "Do you think the station can truly recover from this?" She paused, considering. Recovery is more than repairs and protocols. It's about people, trust, hope, and resilience. Helix 1 has those in abundance, even if they're wary. The words resonated with Alex. The summit had exposed the worst of human ambition, betrayal, greed, and the corrosive thirst for power. Yet it had also revealed the best: courage, ingenuity, and the capacity to forge bonds in the crucible of crisis. Later, as the final delegates prepared to depart, the corridors buzzed with a subdued energy. Conversations were guarded, smiles polite, but edged with uncertainty. Vivian Cade's conspicuous absence was a silent reminder that the battle was far from over. Her shadow lingered, a testament to the corrosive influence of unchecked ambition. Alex moved through the crowd, offering nods and brief words of thanks to those who had stood with him. Jenna Wu caught his eye, her usual sharp focus softened by fatigue. "We made it," she said quietly. "For now," Alex replied, the weight of vigilance settling once more on his shoulders. "But this isn't the end." As he made his way back to the observation deck, the stars outside seemed to beckon a vast unknown filled with peril and possibility. The scars of the past would not fade easily, but Alex felt a steady resolve to face whatever came next. The future was uncertain, but it was a horizon he was ready to meet head-on. Helix 1 was more than a station. It was a testament to human resilience and the relentless pursuit of survival against overwhelming odds, and Alex Mercer would be its vigilant guardian, standing watch as new threats emerged and old wounds slowly healed. The orbit of lies had shifted, but the fight for truth, trust, and hope was far from over. With a final glance at the endless cosmos, Alex turned away from the window, ready to step into the dawn of a new chapter for Helix 1 and for himself. Alex Mercer floated gently, his gaze fixed on the earth below, a fragile blue orb suspended in an endless sea of black. The orbital station Helix 1 had endured the tempest of sabotage and betrayal, but the scars it bore were more than just physical. They etched themselves deep into the minds and souls of those who had walked its corridors during the crisis. Alex exhaled slowly, the recycled air filling his lungs as he allowed himself a moment of stillness. The weight of the past weeks pressed on him not only the near-catastrophic failures and the relentless fight to keep the station intact, but also the faces of those lost, the friends and colleagues who would never see Earth's horizon again. The mission had tested every fiber of his being, pushing him to the edge of endurance and beyond. Behind him, the soft footsteps of approaching personnel broke the silence. Dr. Lena Ortiz and Chief Engineer Raj Patel entered the bay, their faces illuminated by the subtle glow of the station's ambient lighting. Lena's eyes held a mixture of exhaustion and relief, while Roger's calm demeanor seemed almost unshakable despite recent events. "Alex," Lena said quietly, her voice carrying the warmth of genuine concern, "we've stabilized the last of the critical systems. The station's heartbeat is steady again." He turned to face them, nodding with a faint smile. "Thanks to you both. Without your expertise, we wouldn't have made it this far." Raj gave a modest shrug. It was a team effort. Everyone played their part. The trio floated together in the observation bay, their eyes meeting with unspoken understanding. The ordeal had forged bonds that transcended titles and roles, bonds born of shared danger and relentless determination. "What now?" Lena asked, breaking the silence. "How do we move forward from all this?" Alex's gaze drifted back to the stars. "By staying vigilant, by remembering that trust is fragile but necessary. We've seen what happens when it breaks. We have to build stronger connections, stronger defenses, not just for Helix 1, but for everyone who calls it home." A soft chime echoed through the Batha signal that Jenna Wu was securing the station's corridors. Alex visualized her swift, deliberate movements as she navigated the zero-gravity passages, a sentinel guarding the fragile peace they had won. Her presence was a reminder that the fight was not over, that vigilance must be constant. Later, Alex found himself alone before the digital memorial wall's sleek panel of luminescent panels displaying the names of those lost during the sabotage attempts. Each name flickered softly, a silent testament to sacrifice and resilience. He reached out, his fingers tracing the glowing letters of a fallen comrade. Memories surged, the frantic alarms, the desperate repairs in microgravity, the faces of betrayal and courage intertwined. His voice was barely a whisper. "We honor you, we carry you forward." The station's artificial gravity hummed softly as he straightened, determination settling like steel in his chest. The battle had been won, but the war against deception and danger in the void was ongoing. Helix 1 was a beacon, fragile yet defiant, orbiting a world that demanded protection. As Alex prepared to leave the memorial, a come alert interrupted his thoughts. The screen displayed a new message, encrypted, but unmistakably urgent. His eyes narrowed. "Whatever comes next," he murmured to himself, "we're ready." His silhouette merged with the station's shadows as Helix 1 continued its silent vigil above Earth. A testament to human endurance and ingenuity amid the cold void of space. The journey had left its mark, but Alex Mercer was resolute. The scars he bore were not signs of defeat, but badges of survival. And with every heartbeat of the station, every whispered promise, he stood ready to meet the challenges of tomorrow, unbroken, enduring.